Hello friends, A7V, A7IV, what are possibly the differences between these two models? Well, you probably just read a spec sheet to find out, but does the spec sheet have opinions? No, it does not. And in this video, we're going to talk about the differences between these two cameras and why some of those differences matter and why some of them don't. And we're going to try to do it as quick as possible because nobody got time for a long, protracted video. So let's get this started. I'm doing this in no particular order, just to keep it fun, fancy-free, and to keep you guessing. Let's start with what's on the outside. First off, you can see both have full-size HDMI, so that's the same, so we can just kind of get rid of that. And you're left with, on the A7V, two USB-C ports. And that means that one is sort of a low speed, the other is a high speed. They can both charge your camera, but the idea here is that one can be charging your camera, the low speed one, and the high speed one you can use for tethering or data transfer. So that's very, very welcome. After that, we're going to talk about weight. The A7V is about 45 grams heavier than the A7IV, but scientifically speaking, they feel identical. If you can tell 45 gram difference in your camera, you're like, oh, this camera really is making my shoulder sore, it's 45, it doesn't matter. 45 grams, irrelevant. It is a little larger, not a lot larger, but like a tiny bit larger. And I think it's larger because you've got to fit in this new screen. So the A7IV screen was just your simple rollout, as we see on so many cameras now, right? Great, it's awesome, we love this. But it's not as good as this, which is the best monitor in the business in terms of articulation. So it's all the things you like on the monitors that do that, and then all the things you like on the monitors that do this. Like, there is no direction you can't put this thing in. So it does everything for everyone. If you're complaining about this thing, I don't know what to tell you. It's as good as you're ever gonna get from an articulating monitor on a mirrorless camera. All right, what's next? Okay, let's talk on the inside. Both cameras have a 33 megapixel sensor, so 33 is kind of now becoming the new 24, though I still hold the opinion that most photographers do not need more than 24 megapixels, so consider it a bit of a bonus. However, what has changed is it's a brand new sensor in this that is partially stacked, which means a lot more readout speed compared to the A7IV, almost double the readout speed. And where that matters is your buffer times and your continuous shooting is way faster, as well as if you're doing any video, your rolling shutter artifacts, that wobbliness, that's gonna be greatly improved with the A7V. So does it matter? Well, if you're shooting wildlife or video or sports, yes, you want the higher readout speed. But if you're shooting portraits or like food, it doesn't matter. You can probably just go with the A7IV. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to upgrade the sensor if you're not going to upgrade the processor, and that's what they've done in the 5. In the 4, you have the Bionz XR processor, which was an awesome processor, but in the 5, what they've done is they've taken the AI chip that you're finding in a lot of the new Sony cameras, and they are marrying it in the same chip with the XR processor, creating the Bionz XR2. And where you're also going to see that play out is in terms of battery savings. They both use the exact same Sony battery that they've been using for quite a while, but in the 5, you're going to get over 600 shots compared to 480 shots roughly with the 4. So extended battery time, that's another good reason to buy the camera. If you think I'm just gonna gloss over the whole AI chip thing, I'm not. Autofocus, that's where you're really gonna see the magic of this AI chip that you're finding in all the new Sony cameras. And the autofocus on the A7IV is fantastic. I really had no issues with it. It's an industry-leading autofocus without that whole AI stuff. But once you add the AI stuff, then you're gonna get advanced autofocus features like human pose, insects, vehicles, all that kind of thing, as well as there's an improvement in sort of very bright conditions about the autofocusing potential within very bright conditions. So 3-4 stops over. You shouldn't be overexposing your stuff, but yeah, I get it. Some scenes are very, very bright, and having that really improves the ability to lock on a shot in environments where the A7IV was never able to do that. I'd like to add a little bit more information as well on the faster sensor. When it comes to burst rate photos, on the A7IV you get 20 to 30 images before you hit the buffer in RAW. But on the A7V, that's going to go up to around 50. And if you're shooting wildlife or sports, those extra 20 to 30 frames actually could make the difference between you getting a really good shot and getting nothing at all. Okay, let's talk about video. A lot of people are kind of bummed out that it doesn't have OpenGate. But my answer to that is, honestly, it really doesn't matter. The amount of times you're going to use OpenGate is, especially for the demographic who Sony thinks is going to buy this camera and how they're going to use it, is almost, if not completely irrelevant. So I wouldn't worry about that, but what I would focus on is the fact that you can do 4K 60 without a crop. 4K 60 in this, in the 4, had a crop. As well, if you ran 4K 60 on the 4 for like an hour, it would overheat. You can run this guy 4K 60 for pretty much as long as you want, and it will not overheat. It is the single best heat management performance of any camera without a fan. I don't know how they do it. Honestly, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's voodoo, but it works. It's incredible. So if you have a lot of heat management issues, you're shooting in really warm environments, you're really frustrated with how much the A7IV was overheating after an hour, like you're doing really long takes, this is your single solution right here. If there's no other feature that matters to you, this will immediately fix that problem. Stabilization has also greatly improved. The 4 had some wacky things with the stabilization. It was only 5 stops of stabilization, and which was fine. It was great if you're taking photos or you had your camera on a gimbal or just gentle hand holding. It was great. It's fine. No issues. If you really push the limits of it, that's where things get a little fishy. Whereas with the 5, we're now up to 7.5 stops of stabilized, and it's so good that you can handhold it in a way that it looks almost like the camera's on a gimbal. That's pretty impressive. When it comes to the color science, there is a shift again. The A7V takes on the same color science as the FX2. So it moves away from that sort of greenish tone to a more neutral magenta-y tone. Very, very subtle, a little bit more saturated. You may not notice the difference. To be honest, it's very, very minute, but there it is. There are several more differences between the two cameras, but I'll just finish with another thing that just sort of stood out to me, which is the displays. The displays and the user interface on the 5 is improved over the 4, more in line with newer Sony, as well as there is a vertical mode. So now it switches to vertical when you're shooting vertical versus the 4 that doesn't do that. So that's pretty much it. There's a bunch of squawk online as well, that there's no internal RAW yet, things like that. Again, price point wise, what the user is going to be, all the efficiencies in terms of speed. You know, people say, well, the R6 II has internal RAW. Yeah, but the R6 II is very slow compared to this camera. So you kind of have to pick your poison, as well as other reviewers have pointed out. Once you're in a system, it doesn't matter how good another camera is. You just want a camera within your lens system to improve enough for you. And so in this particular case, Sony has given the Sony users and Sony lens owners the best camera they can for the comparable camera market price. And I think they've done an incredible job. If you want RAW, you can still go out to an Atomos monitor. And that's it for today. I don't know how fast this was, but I hope I didn't waste your time. As always, for more great videos like this, please subscribe to this channel and please comment in the comment section down below to help the fabled algorithm and my attempts for world domination. How's that going? Not as good as I hoped. For me, for now, I'm out. Peace.